What's up, guys? Welcome to Podcast 412, Fight for Purity. A bold way of looking at challenges that young people are facing. We'll talk about the naked truth of life and how to handle the problems you're thinking but not talking about. So strap in, get ready for another great podcast.
Welcome back. We're going to be talking about siblings, continual. But first, we will have a fun fact.
All right. Like I never know what to say. All right. So our fun fact for today is that women have a larger frontal and temporal part of their cortex, which is part of the brain here, which is thought to influence language skills. So these parts of the brain mature about 6 years earlier in girls than in boys. So it's pretty much just means that girls are better at picking up language skills, like how to write, how to speak, how to communicate, how to say words correctly, how to use them correctly, and all that good stuff.
So we're 6 years ahead, right?
6 years.
6 years.
Wow.
That's
a big.
That's a
Probably why I
huge
feel so old.
gap.
That means I'm 6 years ahead of my husband no matter what, right?
Linguistically, anyways.
So I'll always be 6 years ahead of my husband.
Oh man.
Well, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So
That was interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I wonder if that means we're smarter. I'm just kidding.
I was like, I think that's pushing the line there.
Okay, so we've been talking about siblings, and we kind of covered a lot of stuff last week. I looked at a few things. They said they took a study of about 300 men from the late 1930s to today, and then according to this Harvard study, it says the adult development. It said 93% of men that were 65 now, that were thriving, had been close to a sibling early in life. So of all these 300 men, the ones that were doing like really thriving at the older age is because they had I thought that was interesting. And it also said that I think that poor relationships with siblings before the age of 20 could be a predictor of depression later in life. So if you didn't have like a good before you're 20.
You know what? I saw something too that said if you had like poor relationships, I think till 12, you were more likely to have anxiety.
Oh, wow. So also, it says that the longer we sustain close relationships with our siblings, that it's just more beneficial and protects us emotionally. So the longer, so obviously, like we said, a healthy sibling relationship. And it just says siblings have an enormous influence on our overall experience of the world, and we carry this forward into adulthood. So it's funny how but a lot of that has to do with like how your parents also helped you with
Your
sibling, how to deal with one another. A lot of that is a big part. Because there's other things that go into like how did your parents parent you? Yeah, is a big indicator of kind of how you guys. What kind of relationship you guys had. So, and it also said one of the things that I saw, it says easier when you're sibling to express negative feelings. Mm-hmm. So yeah, because I don't think you can really do that when you're. I mean, you do, but with your parents, I think it's less likely.
Yeah.
So. And you guys, if you guys can relate to anything, you guys can jump in. Or if you want to make a comment. I thought this was interesting. It says that boys, or, your brothers, I guess, this says that they show jealousy and hatred in a more physical way. Yeah. So usually if they're mad or whatever, it's usually more physical. Like when I hear my daughter talk about like her sons, they usually like want to hit something or wrestle, or it's a physical thing. And then it said, but girls, obviously, what do you think, girls?
Attitude?
More manipulation.
I was gonna say there's like that underhand.
More manipulation is and more nastiness. So with sisters, they tend to be like on the, when there's conflict or when there's, anger or whatever, I guess they just tend to be more manipulative than, which is very true. Yeah. So, let me see. So it says you may compete with siblings, your whole life, but it says you also love them and deeply bond to them, even though, yeah, you can be competitive, I guess. And then we said this. Oh, and it says it's the most layered of all relationships, I guess. So there's a lot when you think about it. I mean, like I said, we can never go like deep, but when you just think about all the things that and then let me see. And then we talked about this. You basically have like the same core values usually, because you grew up in the same family, so the history is the same. And it says you're more readily look to your siblings as a source of support. So they're like your support system. And then one of them talked about toxic siblings. So, oh my goodness. But before we get into some of the toxic ones, and some of them are kind of obvious, but I saw two research things that I looked at, and it talked about there being 5 types of sibling relationships. So, and I don't know how like true or how accurate it is, but I thought it'd be cool to kind of look. One of them said just a casual companions. So it says you enjoy a relaxed, carefree relationship, mutual respect, limited conflicts. It's kind of like almost like a friendship. So so that one probably sounds like it's pretty healthy. There's a bond, but you don't necessarily rely on each other for emotional support, it says. You maintain your individual spaces, but you engage in occasional shared interests and communicate primarily about routine life happenings or family updates. I think that's when you're older, though. I think it's kind of more when you're older. And then there's a rivalrous relationship. It thrives on competition and comparative evaluations.
I wonder if that comes from like parents too, like if they kind of pit them
Favorites.
against each other.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, okay.
See,
Like
you're on top of it, man. Just kidding. It says often it's stemming from parents' favoritism or individual insecurities. So it brings elements of enmity and envy. So yeah. They can be seen vying for attention, overstepping each other's accomplishments, and engaging in recurrent disagreements. It says occasional rivalry is part of a healthy sibling dynamic, contrasted by chronic discord of this relationship. So, and then estranged is by lackluster communication, limited emotional attachment.
Maybe like yours because there's the age difference.
Yeah.
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 It is.
In different siblings, it says you maintain an emotional distance and prioritize individual autonomy over familial intimacy. They tend to keep communication to a bare minimum, prioritizing personal interests over shared experiences. And it says the reason behind such aloof relationships can range from personality differences to unresolved family disputes. It says this brings elder loving younger duos to light, where the younger sibling usurps the caring role typically reserved for the elder. A topsy-turvy hierarchy, the younger sibling often acts as a guide, protector, or confidant to the elder.
Is that still estranged?
Yeah.
Oh.
Instances of this type of siblings are where the elder relies on the younger for advice and helps navigate challenging situations. This counter-traditional dynamic underlines the fluidity of sibling relationships and challenges conventional to age-based roles within the family. So yeah, I think I said 5. That was only 1, 2, 3. I didn't look at the other ones.
Wasn't there like a caregiver?
Yeah, the first one was but I didn't have it on here. I don't know. It's just 5 types. There was one usually the caregiver is like the usually, but I think that's more on the role where you
Oh,
in
what your role
What-
is in the siblings.
in the sibling. This one has, let me see, this one has a different one. 'Cause I think they were pretty similar. It's almost like that one, because that one was the best friend, the caretaker. Yeah, is often the firstborn. They're the one that's always helping the parents, which is true probably for the most part. They will continue becoming caretakers of aging parents or grandparents, with little support from other siblings. So yeah, and then the one that we said, the best friend relationship, is the casual one. The competitive, which was the rivalry one. The other one is the aloof sibling relationship. Often families with several siblings have a member who is a bit aloof and uninterested in many of the family dynamics. They may enjoy get-togethers with their siblings, but generally does not take the initiative to organize or get involved with details. They will typically do what is asked of him or her by family members, but will not inquire about their input or contribution. They may choose to distance themselves for their uninterested, aloof sibling, while others may continually include them in family events. Frequently, the caretaker sibling will be the connection between the aloof sibling and the other siblings. So, and then this one has a black sheep sibling relationship. Usually has trouble relating with their siblings. They can feel left out or isolated from other brothers and sisters. It can be because of a large gap, or other reasons, maybe due to parents connecting with their children through sports, academics, or other activities. Black sheep siblings may have ideals and opinions different from their family members. They may choose clothes or styles that differ from their siblings, making them feel awkward or unusual. So yeah, I don't want to go through the whole thing, but yeah,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
It's very interesting.
yeah, and then go ahead.
I want to say I think it's interesting that there's a black sheep one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'Cause
I
I-
can see that.
Because my sister used to always she used to call me the white sheep, of the black sheep family. Because everybody was real similar, like in styles and
Yeah.
personality, and I was a lot more outgoing than my siblings, and I like the bright colors. I'm really girly, like when it
Yeah.
comes to my clothes and
yeah.
my style choices.
She was louder and everything.
Yeah, I was a lot happier.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, she
smiley.
was.
I was like a lot more smiley.
That's what we called her, the white sheep.
the white sheep of the black
I go,
sheep.
you just
family.
don't fit in. Just kidding. No, just kidding.
I'm supposed to be depressed. Like the rest of us. There'll be no joy here.
You're supposed to be mad all the time. And then some of the other things it talked about, like the psychological impact. So it said, like, if you had that good relationship, you had an increased self-esteem. If you had that rivalry thing going on, low self-esteem and anxiety. If you had the estranged one, you had feelings of neglect. And the casual or role reverse I guess it was a variable, it said. So I just said it varied between. So yeah, so I thought that was interesting, just looking at it. I don't know where you guys.
I'm about to get him.
I know,
Which
we
was
keep staring at each other.
I think yours was pretty healthy.
The friend one?
Maybe
friendly.
the friend one.
Yeah. I think maybe I'm not too sure with your brother and sister. They were like
I know theirs was really close.
More,
I think
yeah.
it's not as close, but I think that's just more distance now
yeah,
than
yeah.
anything
Well, I
else.
think it was because
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The unspoken.
That of what we must not speak.
Yeah, but yeah, so that but I did notice, like, even reading a lot of the stuff, a lot of it really had to do with the parents, with how the parents, like what kind of parents you had, how they raised you, what their values were. I mean, a lot of it just really had to do with that. So, but then you see, like, how much of an influence it has just for you later on, whether you deal with anxiety or insecurities or any of those things. And then it went on to talk about toxic siblings.
Just spitting out these facts right now.
So I thought it was interesting because, like I said, there's not a lot on, and then, every time we talk about certain things, you really have to think about, okay, how was it, or what was it like, or, how did it affect, But one of the things they talked about, like, when you have toxic siblings, there's usually, like if if your older sibling is more active, then you're gonna tend to kind of follow
Follow suit.
in that, yeah. And it talked about like substance abuse. You're more, you're the younger siblings more, you're just more prone depression, self-harming, so yeah. So and one of the things it says is that we should avoid comparing like siblings to one another. Well, why can't you be like your sister? Why can't you be like, because then that makes
It pits you
puts that
against each
competitive-
other.
it,
Makes it
yeah,
that
yeah. So
rivalry.
then it becomes like a toxic, you have a toxic relationship, but yeah, so that's what I looked up, and so I thought that would be good, just to, yeah, you guys can input.
I'm like, well, I'm trying to think of like what my relationship was with my siblings, because we bonded through kind of the incompetence of my parents, and their parents, but we were a blended family too, so that had, their dad had different values than, I mean, my dad, was like an alcoholic. He was doing meth, he was doing coke, he was doing all that stuff, and their dad was actually really good back then, and so they had somewhere to run to. And then my mom, and she left my dad, she was choosing men. So like I don't know, like how, I don't know if it's personality type too, because I'm thinking about that as strange, because sometimes I feel like I'm the oldest mentally,
Yeah.
and I don't know why that is, but and I always felt like I had to kind of take on like the burden of everything that was happening when my mom was with her abusive boyfriends and stuff, like, and have to protect my sisters from that. So I don't know, I'm like trying to think what
Where do I fit in with
relationships.
this?
Yeah, I'm
Mine's
like,
estranged.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, when she heard it.
And then it didn't have to be though, but that was a parenting issue, because the relationship with your mom and your brothers was bad, so
Yeah.
but like I have good relationships and bad. There's been violations with my sisters and stuff, and then going back to the whole like just having a relationship with someone where you can just forgive them, through that, like, and learning how to forgive, because there's been some big violations that I've had to forgive, which I've been able to forgive, and in my adulthood with other people, that building relationships. So
Yeah.
I'm
And you
like,
have
I
to,
don't know.
you kind of have to learn, I guess, how to do that. I mean, I know I learned some stuff, but I don't know that necessarily, I think relationship wise, like, how do you say it? I was able to overcome a lot of
Difficulties?
trauma or, yeah, dysfunction, but I think relationship wise was harder for me, because I didn't have like, we, like she said, we bonded over traumatic events, over, difficult events, or just, just the lifestyle, like we bonded like that, so we kind of like watched out for each other in that sense. But I think relationally, we didn't really bond.
We weren't close.
Yeah, we weren't close, some of us were maybe a little bit more, but I think the relationship thing is like what you said, there was more anxiety, or there was more like, like you said, maybe an estrangement, because I think about it like now, I think some of my sisters, I'm the second to the youngest, and they kind of rely on me more to, deal with certain things in the family versus them being the older ones.
Well, yeah, and usually it's like the standard set for the oldest, but for me it was like, don't you see what your sister's done? Like, we hold you to a higher standard. So like,
Yeah.
I was put at a higher standard than my sisters because of everything that they did.
Yeah.
Like, well, you should be doing it, And then I guess it was toxic too. I mean, it had to be toxic, because then through, and I did, before suffer with like depression and like anxiety and stuff, and with my sisters and stuff, I would go drink with them and stuff, and and do all the bad stuff, because they were older than me, so they could get it, they could get the alcohol, and I could just go there and drink, and then Angela could go with me, and so I guess ours would be kind of like a sibling-ish relationship, but I guess ours is toxic until now.
But yeah, but it's funny though, the influence. When one of the other things too, it talked about like the influence on your social skills. So when it was a good one, then there was cooperation, like how to cooperate with people and how to But if it was like that rivalry, then there was competitiveness. Then you're like competitive, if you're estranged, then you have difficulty forming intimate relationships. Which I would say, you know, because there's trust issues.
Just
And the
Jenny's
kids-
face over there in the corner.
Well, it's easy to cut people off. It's easy to like never talk, even if they're family or you've been close to them. It's easy to just like put a,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like,
because
as
that's
if you don't exist.
yeah, because I think that's something you like, you know, you have to learn to like rebuild again or try to, you know, because I was the one that was reaching out, and you know, after I became a Christian, you know, but I think other than that, I mean, we probably fought and like, yeah, so it was dysfunctional. No?
So, yeah, and so for me, if I, you know, if I wasn't a Christian, I'd still be drinking with them and, you know, continue on our toxic cycle and pretend like we didn't have alcohol. We weren't alcoholics. So I'm just kidding. You know, that I wasn't, you know, but it wouldn't, I don't think it'd be as strange, but it was a bad dynamic, like if we were together drinking and stuff.
And it's
But-
interesting how it's so important to have like a good healthy relationship with your siblings, and that's one of the things I talked about, that even if you have like a struggling one, that it's good for you to like try to reconnect and try to, you know, because
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's
like,
gonna help you.
and what you need that connection, like, because what we talked about last time about the whatchamacallit, my brain, it's not about the emotional like support when you're younger, like we like regulating your emotions and like conflict and stuff, like you need that even as you get older, because your conflicts change, you know, as people mature and as your situations change, you know, like you need that even as you get older. So I mean, like, it's different now. We rely on each other differently now than we did, you know, when we were
When we were
15.
little. And even like if there is, well, I guess there's not really like arguments anymore.
Not really, not anymore.
But like when we were little, I guess the arguments were
Pointless.
stupid. But because we learned, I guess because we learned how to deal with it at a young age. When we're older, it's no longer,
We're not arguing over the toys anymore.
or it's not toys, or like I feel like even if we were to disagree with something, I don't think.
You could work it.
Yeah,
We're
we
not
could.
gonna
Yeah, the
tables.
hell we're not gonna do the hell with you, you know, or cut each other off. It'll just because, but I think, but then like how you said, that has to do with parenting,
Yeah.
because we were taught that you can't yell.
Yeah. When you're upset, you don't
When
yell.
you're upset, you do not yell.
You
When
don't
you're
hit.
upset, you don't hit. When you're upset, you do not insult and go for the gut, below the belt. You don't do that. That was parenting. That was a parenting thing. And so that taught us to control our anger, our conflicts with one another. Not that we didn't try and do it when you guys weren't looking, but it's taught, but for the most part, like,
It helped in the adulthood.
it helped in the adulthood, like,
When we do it now, it's because we're being petty.
yeah. But that was that's where parenting comes in though too. Because otherwise, if our parents let us, then that's how we would handle every conflict. Just yelling at each other and throwing
Slamming
things at
doors
each
or
other
throwing things,
or cutting each other off. If that was allowed in our house, that's how we would have carried it into adulthood.
The silent treatment.
Yeah. I mean,
But so that's one of the things they did say is, if you do, try to fix it, because you need that relationship. It's helpful. I think about like a lot of things that we did, like when I got married, like moving and all that. My family wasn't like involved in that, like in any way. Like anything that we did, it was really separate from my siblings, separate from. It was for us. It was. You live your life, I live my life, and every now and then you kind of come together.
for your reunion,
Yeah, but that
or
was
somebody died.
yeah, or unless I made the initiative to go visit them or something. But otherwise, there wasn't there's and still probably not this constant contact or But I mean, I've gotten better, and at least I feel like we can at least kind of come together,
Connect a little bit more.
Yeah, because we had no connection before, so like none. So we had no connection. So, but yeah, it's so important. It's so important. You don't realize that you need each other.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, well, I know, you didn't technically have siblings, you
Well, you did. You do have siblings.
You do, but you didn't know then.
but I don't.
You didn't know then.
I'm estranged from my siblings, right?
Yeah, on both sides.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, like, even with Ted, like, your relationship, I think, got you through, like, a lot, even if it was toxic.
Yeah, even though we did bad stuff together. Yeah, because even through stuff too, because I mean, with parenting, because I had read this thing like about you're not an only child, but you grew up as like an only child. Like they're more lonely, they're more self-centered, they're more, I think there's a few things. Let me see. But hold on, let me pull you up. There's a pressure to feel that you need to succeed. You have difficulty making friends. You lack motivation. They may be burdened with taking care of their elderly parents. Yes. They worry about parental caregiving and death. And so, like, but even at that, with her mom that she had, but she would give her the silent treatment. She would call her names and do all this stuff like hit below, like the gut
Below
or whatever.
or below the
yeah.
Toxic too, because it was always like, well, why can't you be like these people's kids?
Yeah, so it was always like, why can't you be like this person or that person? And still into adulthood, she does that,
Yeah.
So like
She would even put me and Ted against each other.
Yeah, she would try to pit us against each other, and so, yeah.
But you had that bonding then.
Yeah, but
But you're not close. all of that big old list of things, but that's because you had a relationship with Ted.
As terrible as it was.
And obviously there's hope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's
hope.
There's always, that's one thing we don't want to leave. Oh man, that's it.
That's it.
You're a lost cause. You're estranged now. There's just no.
So, there is, and we survived it. We made it through, but obviously with more struggle, with like just more, we made more mistakes. I know, like I physically, I think, got into a fight with my sister because she just didn't like me. And so literally she wanted to beat me up and she would throw food at me. And so, it wasn't good, Yeah. So it was terrible. But then that escalated to worse things later in life, where she was suicidal, where she was like a abuser, like a drug abuser, and she was in toxic relationships, and all that, just because we didn't have a good, healthy relationship. So, but yeah, so we're gonna probably have to end it because, so hopefully that was helpful to you guys, that we got, some information and kind of,
If you know where you are sibling-wise, maybe you
wise.
can have an idea now of what you can work on.
Yeah. and just that it affects you.
Yeah.
And appreciate if you do have a sibling, maybe it's not the greatest, but appreciate, hey, I have somebody along with me on this good journey, on this bad journey, or this difficult. I have somebody to walk with me through it, because we walked through some of our stuff, like our dysfunctional stuff. But we kind of did it. Well, I know for us personally, we did it silently. We didn't really talk about it. We didn't talk about what we were going through. We didn't talk about how it affected us and how we felt, But it still did help to have somebody,
Just knowing
that somebody was there when there was issues. So.
Yeah, because even when my sisters weren't there, they decided to go with their dad when my mom was in her abusive relationship. I always had their house to go to, even if it was just to like, joke around or mess around, whatever,
Even when we were left alone.
Yeah, even when we were left alone, almost burning down houses together. Just kidding. But, so it does help to have
we can
someone.
laugh now, you guys.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny at the time that we were going through it, okay? So
It was hard.
it wasn't, so just, because I was thinking about that. I go, well, we're laughing like it's,
It's
but
No big deal.
the
trauma.
That's how we cope, okay?
It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, so, but we made it through, and so, so we're going to come back next week, hopefully, and with some positive, maybe.
Yes.
More
Sorry for
encouragement.
being on a sad note.
Some more hope. There's
Just
more
know
hope.
that
But
you're
yeah.
not alone if you are.
Yeah, and so we made it through, we're all, I raised my family and they're not dysfunctional. So, it's possible to be from a dysfunctional home and
But still be a part of a functional.
and still be a part of a functional and raise, not dysfunctional children. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Join us for our next podcast. You can contact us through Instagram at podcast412 or email us at 412fight@gmail.com. See you next time.